Welcome to the Alternative Dog Moms Podcast. I'm Kimberly Gauthier, creator of Keep the Tail Wagging. I've been blogging about raw feeding, pet wellness, and life as a crazy dog mom for more than 10 years. I've seen massive improvements in my dog's health since I began raising my dogs naturally, and I'm passionate about sharing my experience to help other pet parents.
I'm Erin Scott from the Believe in Dog podcast. For more than 10 years, I've been researching and learning everything I can about healing cancer, allergies, autoimmune, and mystery illnesses in both my dogs and myself. And I can't wait to share with you everything I've learned in case it could help you too. As the Alternative Dog Moms, Kimberly and I are bringing you all the latest dog health news that we're following and the brilliant people we're meeting along the way. Now let's get started. Hello, Kimberly.
Hello, Erin.
So it's snowing here in the Mid-Atlantic.
It is not snowing here in the Pacific Northwest, at least not in my pocket of the Pacific Northwest. We still have the remnants from last week's snow, which we got cheated on because I know people who got 6 inches, 7, 8 inches. We got 2 inches. And that's like me being generous.
Well, in typical Mid-Atlantic fashion, we're supposed to get somewhere between 1 and 6 inches, but then we're going to get rain for 2 days afterwards. So my backyard will be underwater for the next 6 weeks.
Yeah, it's nice and sunny here. It's
Mid-season is definitely upon us.
I am grateful that we don't have to deal with that. The dogs aren't quite fans of the super, super cold, but they do like the snow. So, yay. So, I don't know if we actually talked about this yet because it's the first week of the second week of February. And we haven't talked about The List, Susan Thixton's The List, and the fact that as I was going through it, I noticed that there weren't any kibble brands. And I'm not 100% sure, but I know that since I have been getting the list, this is the first time that I've seen it where there were no kibble brands on the list. And usually there's always like some that pass. Like Open Farm is always the one that comes to mind. Open Farm and Carnivore.
Carnivore, that's the one I was just trying to think of, yeah.
Yeah. That are always, but this year, not one.
Yeah, I'm always curious what that means as to whether she changed her criteria, whether people didn't want to be in compliance with what she asks of them. Yeah, I'm curious what that represents, if anything.
Yeah, and it's probably one of those where it doesn't really represent anything. Because I know that the things that you have to provide to be on the list, it is a little task. And Open Farms, well, I don't know how long they were dealing with their recall, but most recently, they had to recall. It felt like their entire lot of products, but definitely a ton of them.
Oh yeah, and that it was for something strange too. It was like plastic or metal pieces or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, gosh, I couldn't even imagine how much that cost.
Oh yeah, it's mind-boggling to me that just the scale and the scope and the scale.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just, there's no way I would want to own a raw food company. You can't win. You literally can't win because you have everyone coming at you. I was talking to someone recently where she got a call from not a customer, but a potential customer that wanted her to outline how much of a specific nutrient was in the grinds and what the source was. And it's just sort of like, do you even know why you're asking? Or did you just hear this like on social media or read a book or something? Because it was such it was not a question that she'd ever received before. And it was so bizarre. And it was just sort of out of left field. And I think it's interesting because if you don't answer people's questions, I've seen this in so many situations where if people don't get the answer to their question, they think that the brand isn't being transparent. Where, I mean, no brand is obligated to share the details, the minute details of their recipes or their formulations to anyone.
Right, I'd imagine it's pretty proprietary.
Exactly. So I just don't understand. I honestly, I just don't wanna own a dog food company. I just don't want to. I don't wanna own a dog treat company, a dog supplement company, none of it, because it's just I just I love the fact that people are so educated and people do wanna know and people do ask questions, but, it's going even to the what is it? The avian flu,
Hmm.
where I'm curious to know how many small raw food companies are feeling pressured to either stop carrying poultry items or consider adding in a kill step because of the avian flu, which, by the way, I have not heard one thing about in 2 weeks,
Mm.
except for once. I did hear one news story that, a herd of cow tested positive for the avian flu, and I don't remember where it was. Maybe Colorado, but I honestly don't remember.
I had heard something here in Maryland. There's a lot of poultry farming. In fact, like Purdue, pretty big,
Mhm.
large scale factory poultry farming on the eastern shore of Maryland. And I had heard that there was something going on down there, but it was probably over 2 weeks ago now that I heard about it.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of which, eggs are insanely expensive. 'Cause I buy the 18 pack of organic, humanely raised, free, pasture raised eggs, and they were like $6, 6.50, and now they're up to $8
Yeah,
for
I think I definitely paid close to $8 recently. We have a place near us called Mom's Organic Market, and like literally everything they sell there is organic. Literally everything they sell there is very expensive also. So I only go in there if I need a couple of things like eggs. Tim likes their salsa, things like that. And they barely had any eggs. They didn't have any of the ones I usually buy. And I was like, "Oh, is this egg thing like a real thing?" Like, it's the first
Yeah.
time I had seen it, like, completely wiped out like that, other than, around, like, the holidays or something
Mhm.
when it was, like, pie making season or whatever.
Yeah. So I have to go out today and pick up, well, a shower door that's just come in, and while I'm out, I'm gonna pick up some eggs because I don't know when the next price hike is gonna be, or if there will. I'm hoping that it calms down and everything will be perfectly fine, but so how's Neno doing?
He's doing well. So his staph infection has completely cleared up and is totally gone, and I'm so glad about that, and he's moving around much better. I will say I think that he's still putting more weight on shifting more of his weight onto his front legs, but he's not noticeably limping on his back legs, and we've been sticking with just our 1 walk a day, and he's been really good about that, and it's, it hasn't been too much on him 'cause we when we did 2 walks a day, that was really too much, so and we have this there's, like, kinda like we call it the short block and the big block, and we usually just do the short block in the mornings 'cause of time, and then we'll save the big blocks for the evenings, but you go really uphill and then downhill. And the chiropractor said to avoid doing a lot of downhill because, again, it's going to put more weight on his front legs.
Mhm.
So every day we feel so bad because he'll try to like pull us to go the other way. And we'll be like, "Sorry, bud, we only have time to do the short block." And even on the weekends, he'll try to and we're like, "Oh, we felt so bad." 'Cause he just gets all excited when he gets to go the other way. I guess it's more things to sniff, I don't know. But Nessie and I did have a little girls' adventure over the weekend, and I took her for, like, a big, long hike up near the school. There's kinda, like, this trail through the woods, and you go up on this hill, and there's these big fields, and they're baseball diamonds, but they're actually all fenced in, and so I can actually just let her off leash, and she has this whole baseball field to, run around and sniff, and all she wants to do is sniff the perimeter around the fence line and just, like, look for prey.
Nice.
Like, she doesn't care about running, she doesn't care about, like, chasing toys or anything, like, she just wants to sniff the perimeter and then be like, "Alright, that was cool." And I'm like, "Okay, girl."
That would be so nice.
But she slept so good after that. Like she slept the whole rest of the day.
We had a rescue event this weekend, a Valentine's Day event. It was actually attended. I was absolutely shocked at how many people were there. But I showed up early with Bella. Well, first of all, they got in trouble this weekend
Uh-oh.
and it was Bella. Bella started it, and I was shocked. A woman was walking down the Centennial Trail. That's usually never a problem. When we're on the property, the dogs know not to go out onto the trail. And there was a black German Shepherd walking with the woman, but it wasn't her dog. It was a dog from up the trail. And Bella and Apollo were interested, but they were fine. What went wrong, and I'm not blaming the woman, it's still on me, was the woman shouted out to me, "This isn't my dog, I don't know whose dog this is." And to my dogs, that was permission to come on out and say hi.
Oh.
And I stopped them at first, but then the German Shepherd took flight, and the prey drive and these two went, and they just basically ran with the German Shepherd. And I don't know, they didn't attack the dog or anything. They just ran, just kept running right along. I had never seen my dogs run so fast in my life. And I think at one point in time, Apollo realized, like at some point in time, he just realized, oh, I don't think I should be doing this. And he stopped. And when he stopped a little while later, when Bella realized, oh, Apollo's not here, she stopped, and they came back. And I must have been, just like radiating rage because they wouldn't come near me. They just sort of looked at me like, oh, she's mad. And I just pointed to the house and was like, get home. And they ran home. And I had called Johan and asked him to meet me outside with the leashes because it's like everyone's going on leash, except for Zoe, who was standing there like I behaved. It's like, yes, yes,
I'm a
she.
good girl.
So I forgot why I brought all of that up. But yeah, so needless to say, the dogs are not allowed in the yard unless they're on leash for a little while. We have to work on our recall again. But all of that running, Apollo somehow pulled a little bit of a muscle, so he was limping the next day. And it's just
Oh.
sort of like, serves you right. It's like, stop doing that. And I'm glad it's not any type of cruciate, because I mean, he was really booking it down the trail. It's like, wow. And it's so embarrassing because it's like, and the lady, when she watched for a while, but then she just decided to go back onto her run because, she doesn't have this dog following her anymore. And I was just like, golly. I mean, I could not believe how just horribly behaved. But now we're getting back to our walks though, because the snow is melting away. So I don't like to walk the dogs on too much snow because it's not something they're used to. So but, now it's starting to melt away, but not enough so the bicyclists aren't out there yet. So we can take our time on the trail. So it's nice. Hmm.
Onward dogs.
I know. It's just like the worst. But I did meet a lady that does dog training. And so I'm thinking of signing Bella. And oh, that's why I brought it up. So the next day, I wasn't going to take Bella. It was the Valentine's Day event, and I wasn't going to take Bella with me, but I decided to go ahead and take her because, that's the rescue that I got her from. And I think after their naughtiness of Saturday and then just dealing with the crowd of this place, I mean, Bella, she did so good, but still it was a lot overwhelming. And by the time I got her home, she was done. She was passed out and everyone was tired. And I was just so happy because it was like, okay, this is going to be a nice evening. Oh, man. But gosh, it was a good and bad weekend. I'm glad it's over.
Well, every night I have pressure on me now because after we finish doing the dogs' dinners and cleaning up, it's like I have to have something for them to do because that's just the routine now. So it's either we have to do nose work or we have to do some kind of games or we have to do tug or chase with the bone or something. And, Nessie just looks at me like, what are we doing? And I'm like, oh dear, I have started a terrible pattern.
Oh, I should send you a link. I wonder if Nessie would like this or if she would destroy it. But I bought a ball that bounces and shakes and vibrates.
Oh.
And I have a video that I'm going to eventually share because I wanted to play with Zoe was in another room, so I didn't get to try it out with Zoe yet. But I tried it out with Apollo, and he loved it. Just thought it was the best thing ever. Bella isn't sure about it. She's curious about it, but mostly she looks at it from a distance. Like she peeks around a corner and watches it. And then when it goes still, she'll walk up to it, touch it. When it starts working again, she backs up and just watches it from a distance. But I figured it's a cool toy for, when you can't go outside and all your talk about nose work and all of that. I was just like, maybe I'll give this a try. I got mine off of Amazon. And so far, they like it.
Good.
And you just have to charge it. Like when it runs out of juice, you just charge it up again. I've only tried it once. I need to pull it out again today. But the only problem is that I think it's best to be used on carpet because with the bouncing and jumping, it's pretty loud. And we don't have much carpet. I didn't think that through before I bought it. So what else is going on in the raw feeding world? Oh, yes. So recently I saw a comment where someone said freeze-dried raw isn't raw because it's still processed. And I thought it was interesting, not that it's a new stance. I've heard it many times.
I was prepared for that. And so I've whipped out my handy dandy Forever Dog Life.
And where does it fall on the chart?
Pages 12 to 13. So it's still in the green category. And they have it ranked from least adulterated to most adulterated. And so, sure, homemade would be at the far end of the least adulterated, then raw, such as something that's been HPP'd, then gently cooked, then freeze-dried. So we're definitely on like the green end of the spectrum.
Yeah. I mean, because I figured technically if we're using the word processed, even though process has very different meanings, anything that we get from the pet store is technically processed.
Right. I mean, like they have, here's corn, and canned corn is technically processed,
Yeah.
So it depends on your definition. It depends on your sourcing. I use green juju freeze-dried all the time with Nessie, with treats, especially when we very first brought her home. Because, I was giving her so much that I didn't want to just use treats. I wanted to make sure it was, I wasn't throwing her off balance. I wasn't, making her pick up weight. Like, so we use the freeze-dried all the time.
Yeah. I like it as I use it when I'm traveling. So whoever else is feeding the dogs, if they don't want to be bothered with what I do, then here's some freeze-dried food. The other thing is snuffle mats. I love that, just throwing it in there, and that's how I'll feed the meal. Their meal will be fed from a snuffle mat. So I've done that when I forget to thaw out food, or if I'm just super busy and for whatever reason, not like it takes a lot of time to put together a meal, but if in my mind I feel like it's going to take too much time, I'm going to instead use twice the amount of time putting food in a snuffle mat and giving that to my dogs. But it's kind of fun to watch them as they forage. So I usually mix it up with freeze-dried raw. I'll get some treats from a company, throw those in there as well. I mean, if you only want to I don't do a lot of freeze-dried because it is expensive.
Yeah.
I do like it. I wish I had a freeze dryer. Costco carries them now, and I've been looking at them, but it's so hard to think about spending $1,500, especially when I don't really know what I'm getting out of it. And you can only freeze dry a small amount at a time. Considering the price, I sort of feel like I should be able to freeze dry. I mean, basically, I don't know, 100 million pieces. I don't know, but it's just so tiny. But I'm still thinking about it. But yeah, so anyway, it's better than nothing.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I look at it. I mean, some people are more comfortable with it because it looks like if you're used to feeding like kibble per se, then this looks like small pellets or
It can be a meal topper for kibble. I mean, if someone were to get like a sample, if I were still feeding kibble and because my local pet store, they give away samples. They have the vendors come and give away samples. I would use those as meal toppers. yeah, I love them. Especially like when it comes to well, not kibble, but freeze dry, because it can be expensive. You can make a bag last you a lot longer by using it as a meal topper than
Yeah.
as a full on meal. But I just thought I just think it's hilarious because I've been doing this for so long, and I love the same statements that we keep recycling through because, these everyone's on their journey, and, just like the people who hate HPP versus the people who are like, hey, there's a place for HPP. We're having the exact same discussion that we had 5 years ago and 10 years ago. And it's kind of interesting when it comes around again, especially if I've changed my thoughts on something.
And I mean, I just look at it as one of those meeting people where they're at kind of things, that's a great intro step. Maybe if you have a small dog, it's super convenient and,
Mhm.
not as cost prohibitive.
Yeah.
Like I said, when you're traveling or something, all those things, like it's a step on the journey and I'm not going to judge it.
Yeah.
By the way, in case you want to know what it's like inside my brain, you had said that your pet store will give out samples and have the vendors come and give out samples. And in my head, this is like, shot girls at a bar or something. And there's like vendors coming around.
What
She's
are
like, some
those? The
freeze dried
bottle
grandma.
girls? The bottle girls
Yeah.
walk around with the tray.
Yeah. Maybe that'll get more people interested.
Oh my gosh, that would be so amazing. It's funny because we have the same people. Well, it's usually one day a month at my local pet store. We have a rep from Honey I'm Home, a rep from Northwest Naturals, and a rep from Grandma Lucy's. There are other reps that come in through there, but those three are pretty consistent, and I love it because I love the Honey I'm Home treats. I love the Grandma Lucy's. They have these really great sample sizes and I use them you can use them to make a meal, but I use them to make treats. And what I'll do is I'll take a ground meat and I'll mix Grandma Lucy's into it, roll it flat, cut it into strips and dehydrate it because Grandma Lucy's holds it together really well. God, I love that brand. I have so much of it. I finally just started buying full bags of it because I make a lot of treats. So,
So you said we got some fan mail.
yes, we did. I'm going to find it.
I was very excited about this. So is this the text option?
Yeah, where it says, text us or send us a message or there we go.
So
You've got
yeah, everybody, if you look at your show notes, your show description on your podcast app, there's a way that you can text us. And I think it was Jennifer, right?
Yeah, Jennifer Dempsey. She says, "Hi guys, longtime listener and love the podcast. 2007 pet food recalls Hill's Science Diet killed my cat, and I've
Oh my.
thankfully never been the same, nor have I looked at pet food industry the same since. All these years later, I still love nothing more than researching the latest and greatest, more holistic leaning treatment options for my animals, and I spend every extra moment I have doing it. In other words, fellow nerd."
Same girl.
So I was curious about how you choose guest products to have on the show and if you ever take suggestions from listeners. Thanks for all your hard work and dedication to our community, Jennifer Dempsey. So, topics, we just talk. We actually have a calendar, which I'm surprised that the two of us, with the way our brains work, haven't had this all along. But
Yeah,
last
I
year,
love it now.
yeah, last year we came up with the calendar and we think about people that we want, we'll run it by each other and we just add them to our calendar. And mostly it's a combination of what's going on in the pet industry and then what's going on in each other's lives that gives us ideas of who we want to have on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, it's not super well thought out, at
I
least not for me. It's products that I use or, am introduced to somehow, or, I'll be scrolling online and read an article or something, and then I'm like, "Oh, I wanna talk to this person."
Yeah.
Our interview next week that's coming up is actually I just read an article. I'm like, we should be talking to them. And we had Dr. Dan on last month. And, I've been like obsessed with this whole peptides thing. And so I was just going down a research rabbit hole about peptides, found his website, and then saw he was talking about all these other things that I had never heard of before. And I'm like, we must know about this.
I know.
You have your hydrogen water,
I
right?
know, the ion bottles.
Yeah. Kimberly went and got the hydrogen water,
No,
yeah.
I got the ion bottle hydrogen water for Johan and I. They were having a sale, so I figure I'd take advantage and and I don't know. I mean, it could be what's the word? Placebo, but I feel different because of it. I have less pain and I sleep better and I bounce back from things better. Like for instance, when I wasn't feeling well, I was doing it's kind of like a green smoothie with tons of antioxidants and vitamins and stuff in it. I was doing that along with the mushrooms, but I was also doing the hydrogen water twice a day. And I bounced back pretty quickly. So it's nice.
Gonna have to do it. I was like, almost gonna do it, and then I didn't, and I'm gonna have to try it. But yeah, I'm just endlessly curious about so many people and topics and things, and it's like so awesome to have, a reason to contact someone
Yeah.
and talk to them, pick their brain.
Yeah, it's just to me, it's this interesting. I mean, we've learned so much just about, for instance, the different types of collagen and the fact that, glucosamine and chondroitin, like there are no studies that consistently prove that they are effective. So
But
as
there
many,
are for UC too.
yeah, but you mean for as many studies that say, yes, glucosamine and chondroitin are great, there are just as many studies that say, we don't know. And so I mean, imagine how much money we spend on those type of supplements and our dog is still limping. Whereas, yeah, UC2 has tons of studies that support its usage. And so my dogs get it on a daily basis. And I guess it's one of those where it also, I've learned that you sometimes have to spend a little more on these supplements. And sometimes it means I don't give my dogs as many. Thankfully, because they're fed a fresh food diet, I feel like I can get away with not giving them the recommended dosage amounts on products, but paying a little bit more for something that I know is going to work and has the science behind it, to me is a little bit worth it. And I think it's because I don't know, this is my third grouping of dogs, I would say. And I've seen the difference between, spending a bunch of money on a supplement that sort of works, or I think works, versus spending maybe a $10 more a package and getting something that absolutely does work. So,
Yeah, I mean, I keep thinking about Neno. I remember the day when he slipped on the ice, and it wasn't just one slip, it was like several slips in
mhm.
a similar place. And yes, I was yelling at Tim, like, why are you letting him walk on the ice? But, right, Neno has been on joint support pretty much his whole life in some form or fashion. As he got probably to be about like 5 or 6, it was like every day, whereas probably from 2 to 5, it was just more sporadic. But I've had my old girl Kahlua that blew her CCL, and once I started learning about manganese and all these things that are deficient in like a kibble diet, I was like, okay, Nino is a bigger guy. I'm really worried about this. He's also a very physical guy.
Yeah.
And I feel like another dog could have taken the same slip and, blown their CCL, whereas he just strained his groin muscle and, has been all right with some massage. Like,
Yeah. I mean, it's just like with, Mayo's, it was another one that was great. It was
yeah.
plus it, just kind of the opportunities that we get. And I think since are we about to hit our third year?
Yes, we're coming up
Uh,
on our 3rd
our
year
third
next month.
year, so we have some history behind us. So people are more open to coming on and talking to us. So that's kind of exciting. I mean, speaking to, Dr. Tom Sandberg and Dr. Ian Billinghurst, and then going to Vegas and talking to Dr. Becker and Rodney Habib. And I mean, having Billy Hookman come back, pretty much once a year. I'm trying to make him a habit for us, and it's those type of things are really cool. But also just talking to, I'm still very impressed with Dr. Christine from Jope.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing her ads come through my social media now. And, it's kind of interesting hearing the stories behind why people do the way they do, or do the things that they do, why they brought their products to market. And also after you talk to these people, there's one thing where you talk to someone on social media about a product and what's working for them. But when you talk to the people behind a product and why they made it the way they made it and the science behind it and everything else, that's just solidifies it for me. And so it's been a fun ride.
And I also just love finding somebody that's not all over the place, all over social media all day, every day, somebody that's new or different or something I never heard of before. Like, to me, that's exciting too. From doing the podcast, Believe in Dog, I get a lot of these pitches from PR companies. And I went through a period of time a couple years ago where it was like every single one of my guests on Believe in Dog were on like 10 other podcasts, like the same week that mine came out. And so I've tried to get away from jumping
Mhm.
on every single person that's booked to me and going out and finding to the people that I want to talk to. And so I have carried some of that over to this too.
Yeah. That's important too. I mean, yeah, it's been kind of cool because I would have never thought of Joe. I mean, walking around SuperZoo was fun with you, but I would have never known about Jope or UC2. Even just that interview made me go back when we finished it and look at my collagen supplement to make sure that it was the right collagen, and it is. Um, but yeah, it's fun. I mean, we're mostly like, "What do you think about this? Should we talk about this?" Erin's brain is a little more nerdy than my own because usually I'll come up with like 3 or 4 things to talk about where she'll have 8 things with links to studies and this article that she said, "Did you see this?" And I mean, it's just like it's kinda cool.
'Cause I'm just constantly reading things, and then I save things everywhere, so when I know it's gonna be an episode with just you and like, I check my inbox because 'cause I'll star things, and then I'm like, "Ooh, that's right, I have this," and then I have to check, like, my Instagram saves and my Facebook saves, and then I have a browser extension to save articles too, and so I have to, like, check all these places, like, "Ooh, what have I been reading that was interesting?" And so then Kimberly's like, "Oh my god, you just sent me 20 things."
I mean, it's like, "Okay, let me do my homework out and become familiar with these things a little bit." But yeah, it's kinda crazy.
And I have, like, an endless list of people all the time because we also have a list of, like, potential guests or people we
A
need to
potential
contact
top.
and schedule, yeah, and so I'm, like, always like, "Oh, don't forget this, don't forget this," and
Yeah, and it's actually really hard. I mean, it's not super hard, but it's like, for these huge podcasts where they have staff and stuff, I can understand why. Having someone who takes care of the scheduling of the guests and the calendar, someone who takes care of the editing, someone takes care of the social media and all of that. I can see why podcasting has turned into an actual full-on businesses that are supporting people because there's a lot of, I mean, you know, we're at the minimum of what we're doing. And I think we're lucky because we're a casual podcast. We're not trying to do anything. What are these, the true crime podcasts where I feel like they talk in a certain way and they talk very kind of slowly and they have kind of the music in the background.
Right, right, the sound design.
Yeah, I mean, it's like this is so soothing and just listening, and I'm like, "Yes, I wanna know more." And it's like the way they tell a story, it's just like, wow.
They'll have, like, sound effects, like, they'll say telephone, and you'll hear, like, the phone
Yes,
ringing in the
the faint
background, yeah.
yes, I know. That's not us.
Look, I think it's fancy when I can fade the music in and out at the end, alright?
I know, I think it's amazing. We have mics. So it's just like yeah, but yes, we do take ideas from guests if someone has wants our thoughts on something that's going on.
Yeah, feel free. Yeah, send topics, send guest ideas. Yeah.
Because, a lot of things that I bring to the table are usually things that come up that I see. Like when BK Pets announced that they were no longer going to feed raw milk to their dog, and the lovely response to that, that was fun. Um, and then, when Avian flu and last year, the canine flu was, I think it
Or
was
the
last.
mystery illness.
No, that was the mystery illness that was last year.
Ew.
And then, yeah, the whole Purina thing that was going on. Because it's crazy. I think the thing that's most fascinating about the pet industry is how something will be such a huge topic, and then we'll never really talk
I
about
mean,
it.
it's not just the pet industry, it's everything.
Yeah, it is. I just feel like it's not as life-changing, maybe. I guess it's not the best word, but it is kind of like when, what was it that the heart stuff, the
DCM.
taurine and yeah, and the DCM, and how, I mean that led to lawsuits, a class action lawsuit. But, something that we used to talk about and argue about, like people would be trolling each other over this. I'm always curious about the people who would spread, because I would see people spreading things like, "Can you send me the support for that?" Because that doesn't sound right. Um, I wonder what they think now, or if they're off, like, passionate about some other topic today.
Or if there's such a, like, cognitive dissonance that it doesn't matter what you
Yeah,
show them, they're still gonna double down.
there is that too. And I think that's the reason why I wanted to start the podcast, because it's like there's always something going on, and it's just like, "Oh, this is interesting." And I just wanted someone else to go, "Did you see?" Because no one else in my life really understands. And they're like, "No, Kimberly, I didn't see. I'm not on social media the way you are." And it's like, damn it.
Oh, and we have to give a shout out to Brian too, because he said he does like the episodes where it is just us chatting.
Thank you, Brian.
You might
So
be the only one.
I know, we so appreciate it. Because, yeah, we're about to start a topic that some people, well, I know one person that I don't know does not like our TV talk. So, TV talk, which I actually don't have anything because I haven't been watching TV. I've been working until 10, 11 o'clock at night because this is busy season for me. But I have been endlessly fascinated with the Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively drama. It's just like it sucked me in, and I just love it. And I don't even have an opinion on it or anything. I'm just enjoying everyone else sharing their opinions. I mean, from people like, celebrities who and comedians who are weighing in, to just the average Joe that's doing a video and saying, "Do you see what I just found out?" I mean, I've never seen something bring so many people together and just create so much content. It is just astounding to me. And I want to believe, because, tinfoil hat here. I would like to believe that all of this was purposely orchestrated to get people to go and watch the movie. Because it's just astounding that they have managed to keep this movie in the news. A movie I had no intention of going to seeing, but when it comes on cable, I'll probably sit down and watch it now because of the drama. That is all I have.
I am aware of the drama, but I don't know enough to have an opinion on the drama. And I literally couldn't tell you what like, I know they did a movie, I could not tell you the name of the movie.
It ends with us.
Oh, okay. That rings a bell, but yeah.
It's ridiculous. I mean, and the amount of money that people are talking about when they, the lawsuit's $400 million. I mean, I'm just sort of like, to live in a world where, where this is like my life. I mean, granted, for them, this is their life. So I can understand, but I'm just like, it's so unbelievably out there. I mean, it feels like a TV show to me because it's just like, what is happening? But the other thing is, and this is not really a TV show, but Disney is not doing so well. They haven't been doing so well for a long time. I was able to add Disney Plus to my Hulu subscription for an extra dollar a month.
Oh,
Yeah. And I was just like, "I don't feel like that's right." But apparently it's a no ads, subscription, but apparently there are gonna be certain shows coming up that will have ads in them, even though I pay for a no ad subscription. I'm not sure which ones they are, but I'm starting to think that the streaming world is coming crashing to the ground. I think they rushed into it with the pandemic since we're all at home
Ah,
and didn't really think about, you know.
long term or
Yeah, and I don't think it's working out.
because I rotate around. Like right now, I have Apple TV, but like I think Hulu's on pause because it's like we don't watch that much
Mhm.
television,
Yeah.
and we still have old school cable. We still haven't pulled that plug yet.
Ooh, I feel so special now that you said that because I pulled my cable plug last year.
Yeah, I remember we talked about it. I still haven't, although I said one after the Super Bowl, maybe we would reevaluate. So, but then we never even watched the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl was free on Tubi. Yeah, yeah, Johan, I walked in the room and Johan was like, "What's Tubi and how do I watch the Super Bowl?" And I was just like, "Well, it's an app." And he's like, "Do we have it?" And I was like, "No." He's like, "Well, I guess I don't watch the Super Bowl." I was like, "We can download it." And so, because it's free, so I just downloaded it and he watched the Super Bowl. And that'll probably be the only time we actually watch the Tubi app.
Well, just to give everyone an idea of exactly how introverted my husband is, we went to the grocery store during the Super Bowl because he didn't want to have to deal with any crowds.
It is pretty smart.
And actually, we went there, did all our shopping, and got back before halftime. And then I think I spent the rest of the night editing my podcast or something.
Yeah. I spent I when I was doing, Super Bowl when Super Bowl's on, I think I was writing an article about Brazil nuts and the benefits of them, and I came to the conclusion that I will not be adding Brazil nuts to my dog's diet, not because there's anything wrong with them, it's just that it's just another food, and my dogs don't need it,
I
so
I feel like those are one of those ones that are, like, really high in fat, and so you could only really give them one.
they're high in fat, but they're very high in selenium.
Yeah, I remember that.
So, I don't know how much you would have to give them to actually end up with the selenium toxicity. I think I just couldn't imagine just it wouldn't be a regular. I mean, if I did give some to my dogs, I would like take one and someone told me to use like a zester, but I was thinking of using a shredder or one of those choppy things where you chop up onions.
Mhm.
You do that, and I don't know if it's hard enough to or strong enough to do a Brazil nut. Did I say almonds before? My article is about Brazil nuts,
Yeah, you said Brazil.
and so chop those up and put them on as a meal topper. Yeah, I mean, because I'm not so much worried about fat, but I don't know if it's one of those things where, you can start reading stuff and because this is the type of person I am. I'll start reading and someone will say, "Oh, this is really great for dogs." And I'll be like, "Okay, add it to the shopping list." And I'll just keep doing that until making a meal for my dogs just takes 30 minutes because of all the stuff I'm adding to it. But then asking myself, how much, like when I add Brazil nuts, at what point in time are my dogs going to start seeing the benefits of Brazil nuts and not the setbacks? So, but I don't know what that amount is really. And I just don't wanna but I think I will start buying Brazil. I actually think they're disgusting. They taste like dirt, but I understand that they are healthy for you, so I think I might buy like, maybe a nut mix that has Brazil nuts in them and start
When
snacking.
Tim was doing his really strict keto regimen, I remember Brazil nuts were one of the things, and he would I don't know, he would give you, like, 3 a day. We could have 3 a day.
God, 3 sounds like just a ton. They're not good.
Now, I'm very picky, but I didn't mind them so much.
They're not good. They're not yeah, not really interested. So that's what I did. I did that and uploaded our last podcast and got the social media done and it was a wonderful, peaceful time. Johan, and I think he enjoyed the game, but I don't know. I
Yeah,
didn't
I
ask.
didn't watch I we would check the score from time to time online, but we didn't watch it at all. I think for literally, like, the first time in my a life since I was like in elementary school, probably.
Yeah.
That's how not invested I was.
I did buy some chips. Did I buy something else for that? Oh, and ribs. I bought ribs and chips for the game, so Johan can have that. And I found chips. I'm trying to buy chips that are made in like avocado oil,
Mm.
and they are not something that's common. We have one brand at my grocery store, and only some of their chips are made in avocado oil. And when they go in, it's like people understand what that is and they immediately sell out. So, but I got some tortilla actually chips. They're not made in avocado oil, but it's not canola oil. I can't remember what oil they're made in, but they're kind of delicious. So, trying to eat healthier, even if with my junk food. It's just,
So I had to laugh if anybody watches Abbott Elementary. I think that's such a cute, smart show. And Gregory, who's one of the teachers, they did an episode recently where they went to a golf course. There was like a golf course that had opened near the school, and they were invited to attend this grand opening. And they had all this very fancy food on, like fancy golf course food. And one of the teachers was trying to get Gregory to eat it. And at the end, he's like running away, like, don't make me eat it. And Tim was like, oh my God, it's Erin. And I have gotten so much better with my eating over the years because I was always a very picky, not adventurous eater. But I have to tell you, the things that they were talking about on that show, I probably would have run away from also. But I was just thinking of when we were out in Vegas and we went out to dinner with Rob from Gussie's Gut, and like we just get like it's literally just a steak on a plate. There's like nothing else. There's like a side of like this tiny little tomato, maybe,
That
but
was
like
so
it was
funny.
just steak, and I was like,
That was
"This is my kind of dinner."
I mean, that was our meal. It was so funny because that's how I eat at home. And Johan's always like, because I'll be like, "Hey, I cooked dinner," and he's just like, what did you make?" Because he has to think about what he has to make to go with it. Because usually when I say I cooked dinner, I cooked one thing. Every now and then, maybe I cook two things, but it's just cooking is a lot.
Yeah,
So
I think this was like one of those a la carte places. I don't know. I think we had gotten some kind of side also, but I don't know. I was
I know. Well, we did order, like, there were some sides that were ordered because I know there was I don't know if it was asparagus or broccoli.
yeah,
There
yeah.
was
I
a
think it was
vegetable,
yeah,
and I feel like there were tomatoes.
yeah. It was like yeah,
I know we had tomatoes, but I feel like there were potatoes of some sort, but I honestly don't remember. I just remember there was a vegetable that there was on a plate that we could all take from, but we all got our steaks. And didn't we switch steaks?
yes, because I think
Because mine was more cooked than I wanted.
yeah, yeah.
Thank you for that.
Of course. I'm not super picky with that.
I know. But the burgers, whenever we talk about Vegas and eating, it's like Wahlburger. I am terrified to go there again because I am terrified that it's not going to be as good, that I have built it up in my head,
It
and
was
that we
so
were
good.
just very, very hungry that day.
There's in the town where my office is, there is a restaurant nearby. It's a brewery place, and they also are known for their food and for actually for getting meats from like this local butcher and stuff like that. So they must have like a burger night once a week, and I'll come out of work and I'm just like, "Oh my God, it smells so good." And then I immediately think of that burger in Vegas.
I know. Oh, that's the one thing I'm looking forward to, going to SuperZoo this year.
I don't know if I'll make it to SuperZoo this year, mostly because we have a big family vacation that we're planning this year, and I don't know how much vacation time I'll have left. But if I go, it'll half be for the food, honestly.
I know. It will. It's just like I don't need much more. It was a nice, I think last year was a really fun trip. So, anyway, all right. Well, this
Oh,
is
you had to mention
yeah, what else was on my list?
Huntaway.
Oh, yes, thank you. Yes, Huntaway. Oh my gosh, and I was just looking at an email from them. They are hosting, they switched their frozen operation to Chewy. They're no longer going to do direct sell to customer anymore. And so you can order it either one off or on recurring on chewy.com. However, right now they're offering 50% off of all of their Chewy, not all of their Chewy orders. Whenever you set up your first recurring order with Huntaway, you get 50% off that order. But what's cool is that now, when they first announced this, you got three 3-pound packages, so 9 pounds total. And I think it was like it ends up being about $50 for frozen venison. But now you can do their 6-pack, so 6 3-packs or 9 3-packs. And the bigger or the larger box you get, the less it costs. So you can save a lot of money. I'm actually looking for someone to place a Chewy order for me and then just cancel it of the 9, because that's what I used to order when I ordered it through them directly. And when I ordered it through them directly, it was a little over $200. So I'm hoping that it's about $100 and something to get that much food through Chewy.com. But we'll see. And they also, actually, this podcast might be out too late for this announcement. Yeah, it will be too late. But since I brought it up, I'm going to finish it. They're looking for what is it called?
Spokes dog?
Yeah, there's a different word for it. But yeah. Ambassador. They have an ambassador program. And it ends on February 17th, but maybe it extends and it's only for a 3-month period. So even if you miss it this time, keep an eye out. And when it comes up again, you can apply for it. The reason why I think it's a really cool idea is that anyone who creates content about their dog or about feeding their dogs should consider applying for it. Because even if you're not like, a quote unquote influencer, this is still a really cool opportunity to get some free food because they will send you tons of their freeze dried venison and to create content and educate people. Because even if it's just your friendship group who you're following and who follows you, you can inspire people to try something new. So I applied for it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, I have some of their freeze dried venison. It's my emergency food in my pantry. And I have
I
some
have to
frozen
check
fruit
that
in
out.
the freezer. Yeah, it's really good food. They only have one protein. It's venison, but it's pretty cool because none of I've never had a dog that had a protein sensitivity to venison. They've all really done well on it, so it's nice.
I'm not sure any of my dogs have ever eaten venison.
I know it's crazy expensive.
Yeah.
Sometimes. I mean, it's weird because I know some people who get venison for practically free, and I'm just like, wow, really? I mean, venison costs more than grass-fed beef where I am.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you knew somebody that's a hunter, you
Hmm.
could get it, but
Yeah. So I think in like different countries too, it might not be because I think like if it's New Zealand venison,
mm.
we're paying for the cost of getting it here too. So it'll be cheaper in New Zealand. So, but
Plus, I
yeah,
feel like we all need to move to New Zealand because it seems like they're doing everything right down there.
they just have scary bugs that will eat you and snakes that just feel comfortable coming into your home.
Yeah, I'm not into that. That's not gonna happen.
I can't handle a spider that's bigger than my head.
Ugh.
It's just too much.
I think
And
we have a mouse in our attic right now, and Tim has this very inventive way to catch mice that keeps them alive for me at my request. And Nessie and I were asleep on the sofa the other night, and then she just shot up like a bat out of hell and is like tracking all around the room. And that's when I'm like, oh, yes, she's definitely seeing something, hearing something.
we don't get them in the house. We get them in the garage. And so
We just get them in the attic.
I have to go through and make sure that they don't. I mean, all of the dog stuff is all sealed up so no mice can get to it, but that's kind of a pain. All right, well, It was great talking to you, Erin.
Always a pleasure.
Bye.
Bye, guys.